You have one consolation. Hell will hold no surprises for you.
And now, one of the great artists of the day, filmmaker Ken Russell, who has won international acclaim for the perception and visual sensuality of his women in love, has brought his camera to the subject and reveals a spectacle of unrivaled brilliance and thunderous drama.
Welcome to Kermode Uncut, where an anniversary is upon us. I'm outside the National Film Theatre here on the South Bank in London, and it was 10 years ago that I co-programmed a season called A History of Horror, which we unveiled for the first time ever the director's cut of Ken Russell's masterpiece, The Devils. Now, you may have seen in the press recently that Guillermo del Toro, a director I absolutely love, was giving a lecture in which he talked about his dismay at the fact that Warner Brothers continue to suppress the director's cut, that a studio should prevent this masterpiece from being seen, a film that was so important to him and so important to so many other directors. Now, I really remember clearly being on stage with Ken back in 2004. Ken was there, we showed the film, it looked magnificent, the audience loved it, he got a standing ovation. Afterwards we did a Q&A and we talked about how great it would be for everybody else to be able to see this wonderful masterpiece fully restored. And it hasn't happened, and the single reason it hasn't happened is that the American studio, Warner Brothers, refuse to allow the film to be released intact. A few years ago, the BFI did a lovely DVD release of the X-rated version, the British X-rated version, which is the longest version available. But even then, Warner Brothers would not allow Ken's director's cut to be released, despite the fact that Ken had recently passed away, and there was a great feeling that everybody wanted to see all of his work in the best possible form. Now, I want to be quite clear about this. Warners in the UK have been nothing but supportive. But Warners in America have never liked The Devils. They didn't like it when it first came out. They insisted on huge cuts for the Americans, and Ken had nothing but fights with them. He once said to me, I think they regretted ever putting any money into it. Well, that's as may be. And here in the UK, the demand to see a film by one of our greatest directors in its fullest possible form is overwhelming. The Devils was restored to its full director's cut glory 10 years ago, with the Rape of Christ scene completely intact, put back where it should always be, what Ken once described as the very heart of the film. It has sat on a shelf unreleased for 10 years. There have been screenings here and there. I introduced a screening at the NFT a few years ago, but that's it. Now, for a long time, many of us involved in that restoration have decided that diplomacy was the best way forward, because we need Warner's cooperation to see the film. And as I said, Warners in the UK have been very, very helpful. But after 10 years, I think the time has come to make a straightforward demand. So, to Warners in the US, I say this: you have no right to censor a British classic. You have no right to withhold the work of one of Britain's finest filmmakers. And even though you may hate it, here in the UK, we want to see Ken Russell's director's cut of The Devils. We want to see it now, and you don't have any moral right to censor it.
God bless you.